Welcome.
Yeah.
To our live podcast event in honor of the first anniversary of our podcast, The Possibility Movement. Mazel tov. Thank you.
Yes.
The name of this podcast is called The Possibility in the Abundance on the Other Side of the Illusions. So we're going to be getting all up in there. But before we do, I'm going to introduce Fanny. So I am filled with joy and gratitude to be able to co-host this podcast with Fanny. And it is a real blessing in my life to have you inside of it. And I'm so grateful to Hashem that we both are crazy. Because it's helpful. And it works. It works for both of our lives. And for this podcast, The Possibility in the Universe. And it really feels fitting to be doing this first anniversary of our podcast event in Fanny's Possibility in the Universe, which was just a dream last year when we started, maybe not even fully formulated vision last year when we first started the podcast. And I want to drop everyone into that frequency for a minute because we're in this space now and it might not have even been fully visualized at this time last year.
It wasn't in the cart.
It wasn't in the cards. And now we're here. Yeah. And we are in the abundance on the other side of some illusions.
Thank you, Rivky. That's okay. I want to also introduce Rivky, a beautiful friend, a profound, energetic healer in ways that I am continuously brought to my knees of the possibility in the universe of witnessing your guidance in leading people back to their own power and watching people take the reins of their own lives and ride into the sunset in a way that is so empowered and where they become their own possibility in the universe, literally. It feels like all the people that I've experienced with you choose that. So that's my memory. That's my only what I have to go by. So it works every time because everyone's choosing. And somehow they're empowered and enthused and enlivened by their own willingness, and they freaking go and get it. And it's so deeply inspiring and moving every time. Sometimes I wonder, will things get jaded? Will this just be like another thing that's whatever? And no. The answer is no. Every time you're just like, wait, what?
There's more.
Yeah. Totally, it's totally wild.
For all of you that are here, thank you for being on our frequency. And thank you for being in our resonance field. And thank you for choosing to pick up what we put down. Because what we put down is more than the words that we're going to say. It is the frequency that we choose to embody. The abundance on the other side of the illusion is the experience of embodiment. The illusions are all the ideas that we have about what life is and what life is not. The abundance on the other side of the illusion is the raw experience, to me, of experiencing life as life, with life, of life, through me, through you, and how we can experience and dance with and touch our aliveness that's on the other side of all of the illusions that were created, not our fault, but through trauma, is the way that I choose to look at the world. Trauma creates, and for those of you who know me well or listen to the podcast, you hear me say this on every single podcast, a vortex that is very narrow. If we think about what we are going to, if we think about the experience of when you're triggered, you can't think of anything else besides for what you could think, what you're thinking about. And that's the experience of the trauma vortex. In the field of abundance, there is something so much wider. There's so many more creative ideas. There's so many more solutions to problems. There are so many more ways to look at things. There are so many more ways to feel things. To me, the abundance on the other side of the illusion is being alive. You're welcome to listen to this as an experience. You're welcome to close your eyes. You're welcome to allow whatever lands to land and whatever doesn't to float away. You're welcome to let yourself move if you want to move. You're welcome to let yourself be. You're welcome to let yourself cry. You're welcome to let yourself open your heart. You're welcome to allow yourself to feel your constriction, because on the other side of the illusion is you. So now I'm going to read my poem. Great. That I read in a class that I recently taught. So if you're in the class, you'll hear it twice. What is the most profitable thing you've ever done for your business? Forgive my father. What is the most transformative thing you've ever done to open up to more abundance? Open my heart. What's the most radical thing you've ever done to create massive change for your clients? I grieve over and over again. What is the thing you've done you are the most proud of? Saying the truth. What do you turn to over and over again to receive results? Hashem. What has made the biggest impact on your income? Positive friends. What has made the biggest impact on your impact? Certainty, faith, saying no, being discerning, being precise. What has made the most significant impact on your quality of life? Forgiving my mother. Your clients say over and over again that it was the most powerful experience they've ever had. What do you do with that? I teach them how to create their reality. I teach them how to love themselves. I teach them that no one is saving them. What's the number one source for your success in filling up your programs over and over again? Self-love, patience, and a genuine desire to give more than I receive. It's really important to remember that there are many, many classes and courses and 3-step processes and 5-step processes and all kinds of things that we learn how to make our lives better. But beyond the illusion, even the illusion of healing, because all of you that are here are going to understand our podcast and have been on a healing journey, it's just you. And when you strip it all away, there you are. So in this experience of that we've been talking about the abundance on the other side of the illusion for months already. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we've been talking about a specific word that I'd love to drop into the space, which is relief. Even when I walk into Grassroots, I can feel that there's something easeful in here, in the energy. There's a relief when we come back to ourselves. And those of you who are here that have been on retreats, but also those of you who are here that have been living your life, you know what it feels like to get to taste and touch the life that exists and what lives on the other side of what most people run from. That's the abundance. It's not just physical abundance, it's the experience of ourselves in our own energy. So yeah, dropping the frequency here before we really, really continue, not before, but continue to dive into this conversation. And I think that, like, I would start by asking you, Han, what does the abundance on the other side of the illusion mean to you? I just shared what it means to me, and I'm curious what it means to you.
So I'll start with being in the process of not being able to get there. Where there was something in my relationship that I was having a really hard time looking at, because I was so afraid that if I looked at it, I would see a truth that I didn't want to see and I didn't want to be affected by. And so what I did was I ran. I became an avid runner.
An actual runner.
Actual runner, like running. I started to run as a habit to take me away from the thing that was chasing me in some way, that was asking me to look at it. But I was so afraid to look at it that I ran. And I ran like a machine. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning before the sun came up, and I was literally one of the first 3 people in Prospect Park. I knew the other 2 who were running from there. I knew the other 2, and I saw it in their eyes what they were running from too. This is not so great, but we're just gonna keep doing it, aren't we? To the point that
Did you really?
yeah, I know that. Yeah, one particular amount. Okay. Anyways, epic time, but to the point that it started to actually become something that I received positive reinforcement from my environment. People are like, wow, Honey, you're so healthy. You take such good care of yourself. You're so committed to staying in shape and being so well cared. You're doing such a good job of self-care. Wow. To the point that it got even further than that, then I suddenly started to become an inspiration to others who want to run now. I can do it too because she's doing it. I'm going to become a runner, and I'm going to see her in the park, and I'm going to wave to her while I'm also running by. And what I was doing everything I can to avoid the thing that was the part of me that was asking to be looked at. The part of me that was so afraid to look at that thing. And so I kept running into the illusion that if I distract myself enough, then the thing will go away. But it's not actually what happened. It's not. And eventually it did catch up with me. It took 4 years. 4 years. I ruminated with this idea because I was so afraid to turn around and have the courage to look at it in the eye. But the wild thing is that when you finally do, because you get to a breaking point, because you can't run more than that. And like at that point, you're just, it actually is not as scary as it seemed all this time. It's like when I feed the illusion, I build a stronger and stronger case of the illusion where it becomes more and more impossible for me to even turn around and look at it. Where if I actually allowed myself to consider the abundance beyond the illusion, which I did not have access to at that time, evidently. And it took me this running to learn the lessons that I needed to learn. So nothing is lost in the space. And in some way I was healthy and really in good shape. So it didn't have a terrible effect on me. But when I finally was able to have the courage to look at it in the face, it just wasn't as scary as I thought. And being with the truth and coming full circle in that, and I've had many times of this is not one pattern. Patterns repeat themselves. Surprise! And if it's not this, it's something else. Don't worry. Here we are. Here we are again. But being able to really confront the thing allowed for the possibility to be in the deepest intimacy with the place that you're afraid of losing the connection. The whole thing that I'm running from is the fear that if I address it, I'm going to lose the connection. And I so desperately don't want to lose the connection. So what's happening? I'm losing the connection with myself more and more, abandoning what I need the most more and more by filling it with something that seems so healthy and getting so much positive fanfare. To then finally be able to give myself what I needed, which was truth. So for me, I feel like the abundance beyond the illusion is being in truth.
Yeah.
Being in an unadulterated, minus drama and noise, a truth that is like what I learned about truth is that truth doesn't need a narrative to defend it. There's no defense needed if it's true. If it's true, it's going to be true for always and forever. I'm not going to need to remember the story that I made up in order to hold up this truth. If I'm lying about something or to myself or denying myself something, I have to constantly keep up the story. I have to constantly run further and faster and harder so that I can stay away from the thing. So I can feed the story, the narrative, and pump it with the false ideas so that I can hold on to something that isn't true. But when it comes down to the truth, it's actually effortless.
Yeah. Wow. And there's multiple illusions that as I'm hearing your story, I'm seeing that there's multiple illusions, because there's the illusion that the running is the healthy thing.
Yeah.
And there's the illusion that you're
And I bought the story too, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
You're a big supporter.
I was like, I know I am in for a shot.
Of course you would. Yeah, but also like it's so easy to buy.
Yeah.
Because there is a level of truth to it. And that's what's so tricky about illusions. There's normally layers to them, right? There's this illusion that we're running from, and then the running is also the illusion. It's like the addiction, right? Like we're running from something, and then we're creating another mask on top of that, right? And then we're creating another thing, and then it's very difficult to peel back. Because I just thought of a story I want to share just to this room. Great, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
But there's something else that I also want to share just to this room, because our podcast is geared toward all audiences. But in this room, it looks like there's all women and also all Jewish women. That the societies that we live inside of are also, they create often these masks that cover these other masks, that cover these problems, that cover these other problems. And that wouldn't necessarily have to be there in the first place. And nobody wants to talk about it because it's too scary, because it threatens our belonging. And then there's an illusion that masks a problem that doesn't end. And sometimes those illusions are really safe place. Do you see why I don't like to call things a safe place? Because even if you feel safe, you might not be safe. And there are communities that protect people who can be perpetrators of problems and not solutions, to protect the illusion that there's only good inside of a space. And those are things that are not okay. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. There was one time someone that I knew, can be very vague out the details and change some of them, that was extremely jealous of me, to the point of what felt very, very strong energy coming towards me. And there are some people who mask ways that they feel better than others. She had a gift of not having the most elegant mask. And so you can feel it. And at one point, there was something that I was doing, and she said to me, in this moment of like wrath / rage, she said, "I want to kill you." True. And I was like, whoa. And I know this is an extreme story, but we all have our own extreme stories. I don't think that I'm the only one with an extreme story in this room. And I was, whoa. First of all, whoa. And second of all, whoa. You know, there are reasons that we aren't all our full selves that feel very real. And I was like not sure how to navigate it, and I ended up not engaging with this specific person, and just really working through the energetic core of this material inside of myself. And I worked through it, and I came out the other side in a very strong way. And I just wasn't very afraid anymore of anything, because that's what happens when you work through the illusion within yourself. Just thumbs up if you just picked up what I put down for the most part. That feels really good. And afterwards, it was a couple years later, and this person wanted to come to my house. Cool. Why though? But obviously, when people are struggling, sometimes they don't make sense. Not everyone makes sense, including all of us. We don't always make the most sense. It's okay. We make sense at our core, but sometimes we do things that could be challenging for ourselves or others to understand. And I said, you can come to my house if we have a you can come in. Showed up at my door. I'm like, you can't come into my house. And that's not something that people from the community that I come from say. And I was like, you can't come to my house unless we have a conversation. And she's like, okay. And I sat down across from this person who I wasn't scared of anymore. And I was like, that was not a safe experience. And I understand, I know at your core that you are good. That's the way that I believe about the world. And there was something about that wasn't not okay. And she's like, but it was this, and it was triggered, and it was that. Somehow the mental health industry has created a world in which we heal our triggers on others.
Like, what back?
I'm just healing my codependency on you real quick.
And we were tomorrow. I need to send today now. Yes.
I was just stayed with it. I was just like, no. And I wasn't angry, and I was just holding myself in what was true. And she started to cry. And she said, I've been bulldozing people for 55 years. And nobody's ever said anything to me. Ever. Nobody has ever set a boundary with me. That is the abundance. On the other side of the illusion, it is an experience of a life unafraid. An experience where we can walk into a room, whether we say something that we don't, and be ourselves. And the ripples that get to start rippling out as a result come from that space of holding what is true, even and especially when it is scary. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Wow. So it's making me think of the story as it goes. Take it away. What I'm picking up on at the end of that is this idea of when I'm no longer afraid, I'm no longer attached to what someone else needs to serve for me, which is the abundance on the other side of the illusion. So long as I'm dependent on the way that you're going to receive me, I am stuck in this bind where I am going to be in reaction to however it is that it's going to be through you. And so it can't be abundant because it's dependent on something that's limited, which is another being. Abundance comes through God, which is beyond that illusion. So I think about a time in my life when I had a falling out with a brother of mine. And I needed to apologize to him because I really, in my attempt to save, I really caused a lot of damage. Really did. And I needed to take accountability for that. And it was really hard to stand. And really hard to see myself in the destruction that I caused in some way. And I'm using a little bit more intense words, but I'm not judging myself for it. I'm just saying, in reality, when we don't own the things that we contribute, we cause destruction. It's part of what happened.
Yeah.
And I needed to take accountability for
And
that.
it doesn't mean we are bad,
Yeah,
but owning
that's what I'm trying to
but owning our impact
owning our impact. Exactly.
is so powerful.
Yeah, it was taking me time to get there. Like I knew I needed to, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. There was my ego still was like in the way. I was still so uncomfortable with it. I knew what I needed to do, and so now, as is, I'm ashamed of my own behavior. I need to take accountability for it. But here I am, like shaming myself on top of that for the amount of time that it's taking me to man up to the thing that you have to apologize for. So there's this voice in my inside of my head that's come on longer, and it's getting harder and harder because it like that space starts to get so charged with so much judgment and even more shame that I'm compounding. I'm literally compounding the shame. But also, and because all things are divine timing in it, and part of it was the process of taking deeper and deeper accountability for what it was that I contributed without needing it to be received so that I can actually apologize. And it's not about if you're going to take it from me, because you know what? You actually don't have to. You don't have to receive my apology just because I want to apologize. Just because I want to take accountability doesn't mean that I'm forgiven. It's not the way it works. And so in that process of the compounding, I came to own deeper and deeper places inside of myself where the abundance on the other side of the illusion was able to stand in the apology and it not be picked up at all. And it's okay. Yeah. Because the only part that I can do and that I can contribute to and take accountability for is my own. And I can pray. And I can pray for what it is that I desire in the relationship, which is connection and intimacy and a forgiveness of self more than anything else. And so it's like the illusion feeds itself, and there's something in it too, because nothing is for naught. So it's not, we're not in the illusion and beating ourselves up with the way that it was. We're also recognizing.
That's another illusion.
Say it.
The beating ourselves up. I could like feel in this room how many people might resonate with what I'm about to say. Like hit my heart. The beating ourselves up about the beating of ourselves up, about the beating of ourselves up is another massive illusion that we create. And it is a space that is such a bind, right? Because it's so difficult to come out of that illusion. Another illusion. Because as soon as we come back to the present moment where nothing is wrong, as soon as we return to the present moment where nothing is wrong, everything falls away. And the longer we continue to feed the illusion, the longer it flourishes. It's like mold. But as soon as we come back to the here and now, as soon as we come back to the present moment, as soon as we're done resisting it and we just land in the here and now with what is, good, bad, wrong, up, down, black, white, it is what it is. Horrible, devastating, despair, trauma, ecstasy, bliss. It is what it is, 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 what it is. And the shame, and even the ways that some people in their healing journeys work with shame, keep us muddled in it. Muddled has the word mud. Yeah. It's like you're stuck in the mud that you could choose to get out of in any moment by being here now. I took it away. Yeah, as you told me to.
Like, what the word left.
For that.
Sorry.
No, you lose your train of thought.
No, that was the end of my story.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
took it all the way home.
Yeah. And there's something really, a lot of times people want the process. How do I get there? So maybe I read some people's minds. Maybe Maybe it's just the way
If you're
that
psychic.
The abundance on the other side of the illusion is that everyone's psychic.
Okay, cool. I love it. It's the truth. Yes.
is this. Makes me feel so many intense feelings. For those of you that are here, there's this illusion. There's this healing journey illusion that's helping people up until a certain point and then really hurting people. And I think of it like, and those of you who are my clients, you know the story, but every time I hear it again, I learn from it. So I hope that you do too, and it's about a pedicure. When you get a pedicure and you use that callus machine, and when you use it, what do you get? Soft feet. But if you use it too much, you will start to bleed. And to know when it's time to use it and when it's time to not use it is extremely important, because using it when it's not necessary is the shaming. See, under the illusion of the truthiest truth, that you are a child of God, that there's nothing wrong with you, that Hashem is here, and that everything happens for a reason. And we go through things. When a child who's 2 years old does something wrong and their parent tells them, like, go away or eat this or that, the child doesn't start believing, oh, my parent must be struggling with their emotional regulation or their mental health. No. The child starts to believe there must be something wrong with them. And then not only that, we create identities around the illusion that fixes the illusion in place. I have ADHD. I am Hasidish. I am from. I am not from. I have OCD. I have anxiety. I have depression. I don't, I'm just saying.
That was the awkward.
I am this. Yeah. And then we go to the doctor. And then we go to the doctor and they give us a note. And then people, based on our identity, we either have to hide parts of it or show parts of it. Depends which parts are acceptable for others. And we might have this kind of thought, but then what does that make me? And we might have this kind of feeling, and what does that make me? And how do I fit that into the narrative, on top of the narrative, on top of the thing? And I've worked with hundreds of people at this point, probably thousands. And if my 4-year-old wears this outfit to school, are they going to find a shidduch? Seriously. Because why else would you give a damn if your 4-year-old wears that outfit to school? Okay, so let's go on a journey. If they wear that outfit to their kindergarten class, then they won't get into the school. And then if they don't get into the school, they won't get into the camp. And if they don't get into the camp, they won't get into the high school. And if they don't get into the high school, they won't get into the seminary. And if they don't get into the seminary, they won't find a shidduch. And if I wear this type of sheitel, then I will be considered this way. So maybe I need to overcompensate by doing this thing. Whoa. And then people are wondering why their nervous systems aren't regulated. And then they go on a healing journey. And they go into the healer. And the healer's was like, be yourself. And they're like, you don't know what my life is like, though. Be myself. But I'm going to take you into what the abundance on the other side of the illusion looks like. It looks like this moment. In this shop, in this hour, with all of you. You don't have to bleed and fling off and get rid of all your mishigas. We all got to keep some of it in order to be in the abundance on the other side of the illusion. We just need to acknowledge what is real for us in the moment. And I promise that being with what is real and being where you are will change the world, because we all are thinking, and we all think like, how do we change this narrative also for others? How do we change society? How do we change the school system? How do we change the people on the top? One of my friends called me last week. I haven't spoken to her in probably like a year. She called me last week, and I've been like watching you a bit online, and like it seems like everything that you do seems to be flowing. There's something that's been moving with so much ease and menuchas nefesh, which means like peace in your soul. Yeah. And she said, "Is that your experience? Because that's what it looks like." I told her two things. I said, one, don't count, because I'm probably going to say 14. One is that however it looks on the outside, it feels 1,000 times better on the inside. And two. Yeah. Was that your experience as well? Yeah. Yeah. And two, it's not because it's perfect. It's because I've dispelled the myth of perfection. There is never there to get to. And as soon as we rest into that, we rest into our becoming exactly where we are, exactly who we are. The illusion of healing and utopia is such a myth, but not in the way you might think. There is heaven on earth. It just also includes a mess. It just also includes being triggered. It just also includes your parents probably not being there yet. Because that is what is real. There's something that I admire about you always, Chani, which is many things, but in specific, and we'll close out soon with this, is the way that you parent. The way that you parent is very unique in the sense of all your children, because I know them well, I know this, they are really themselves. Like they live from their soul. The wild thing is that I thought back to my mother, who had her own life experience, and one day she'll share her story too, God willing, on our podcast. Yeah. But there was a point in her life, because of circumstances, her dad became her sole proprietor, and so he helicoptered her out of love to like really take care of her in the best way that he knew how, which is also suffocating for her experience. And she made a pact with herself. She told me in the 3rd grade, when I have children,
I am going to let them fall so that they know what it feels like, so they can experience what it is that they're meant to learn through that, instead of catching them every time before they fall. And so in my upbringing, in my life, I lived in a reality that was that a lot of space to, and a lot of freedom to be all kinds of expressions of myself. That was pretty epic. And now I'll finish my compliment. Little segue.
It's good, right? And just keep.
Another illusion that might pop into your mind when you hear Chani say the story is expression is for Chani. I didn't grow up in a home like that. I grew up in a home where I was squashed. That is an illusion. That's your illusion. And it's really important. All the comparison. When do we know we're in an illusion? Comparison. Perfectionism. Anything that we don't feel like we can be here now. It's not that complicated. As Rachel Hess, Carney's sister, says, it's not that deep.
And truly. Another illusion. Illusion of itself.
But what I think is so beautiful is that even though I know you shared the story of saving your brother, but you have not saved your children from themselves or for you, for the purpose of saving yourself. Many people try to save their children, in order for them to not suffer, in order for them to belong. If I wear this thing, then my kid won't get into this school, which then will make my kid. There's so much saving, which continues to feed the illusion, which continues to feed the problem. And what you have done, which in some ways is so radical, but for you is so simple, is be yourself and let your kids. Kids that won the story. Yeah, of course. Can I at least help that?
No, we would tell.
Okay, go.
Another segue. So a friend came over to my house and he was visiting me, and he had just come from his sister's home. She had 5 kids and everyone needed something else. And she was so overwhelmed. Everything was, oh my gosh, who am I supposed to talk to for? How am I supposed to wiping this one, so this and doing this and watching this thing and do that and get me this, whatever. Just overwhelmed. Everybody's pulling up from all directions. And then he comes to my house and everyone's just chill and have the same amount of kids. And he's just watching what's going on. I got it. I was like, what'd you get? You just ignore all your children. Equally. I was like, you got it. And that's it. Leave them figure it out.
I'm not going to go.
But I'm talking good.
And then Rivky had this thing where she imitates me and she's, you know what? Take a hot dog and go to the library.
Because there's a library down the street and our kids like to.
They just take a fork on the hot. They take a fork, they stab it in the hot dog and walk down the street.
If it's winter,
Tells them to take a crown.
if it's summer, tells them to put on shorts.
Fun. So I had the honor and pleasure of meeting Rabbi Yoel Tarjuman in Tzfat. And prior to meeting him, I got to participate in a few of his classes. And he lived in the abundance beyond the illusion. He was not willing to surrender into anything that was remotely illusionary. And in one of the classes that we had, this woman proposed. She tried to fight him on that. And she's, but what do you mean? My son has asthma. He has asthma. And does he? And she's, yeah, he was diagnosed and he needs to have an inhaler and needs all these things. And it's always such a big thing and we can't go here, we can't go there, and it's too much dust and it was so much anxiety around this thing. What your son needs when he's having a hard time breathing is to be reminded to breathe. That's it. All he needs to do, and he offered like 2 kinds of breaths. He's like, there's a 4 breath, breathe in 4 times, hold 4 times, breathe out 4 times. He just needs to be brought back to his breath. And then he doesn't have asthma. He just gets the air into his lungs because that's what it is. Yeah. And when I heard that, I was so excited to speak more into that. But unfortunately, Hashem decided that it was time for his soul to leave this world. So I only got to meet him once, and it was a very powerful encounter. And it moved me and moved the trajectory of my life in tremendous ways. But so much about what I received from him is the reality that is, he called it creality. Creating with your creativity and Any narrative that we're fueling is energy. We're utilizing our energy towards whatever we're creating. So take this creality, use that energy that is telling you that you're schlepping your kid to doctor and all the places and asthma and everything and diagnostics and all that. Use that energy to the creality of what you desire it to look like, which is ease, which is breath, which is pause, which is allowing this child to live a healthy life and not have to feel like he's plagued by something because of our anxiety of, oh my gosh, I want to take such good care of my kid, and I'm actually creating something that isn't. All you have to do is be there to support him and help him when he's having a hard time catching his breath to breathe.
Beautiful. And you just helped drop in my thought. That's why that needed to come through, which is, do you have an autoimmune disease? Or do you need to start telling the truth? Do you have depression? Or did you get abused and nobody believed you? Do you have anxiety, or was your life actually really challenging? Do you have difficulty shifting a problem, or were things actually difficult and you never got a chance to grieve? Are you stuck, or do you have rage living inside of you? Are you sexually blocked, or is there something in your relational dynamic or in your childhood that challenged you to create that reality? Are you insecure, or did someone constantly put you down or never give you attention? The diagnoses, if they move us closer to the truth, they're helpful, but as long as they keep us fixed and stuck, they aren't helpful any longer. There can be an illusion that it can feel really scary to live beyond that.
Yeah, beyond the fixed identity.
But if you have a stomach ache without a name, it's still valid. If you're sad without a name, it's still valid. Your experience is still valid just because it is. Now, we're moving into Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. Rosh Hashanah is a time for a reorientation to something new. I believe with my whole heart that every single moment is a chance to create reality, is a chance to create something new. And the frequency I'm inviting you guys into for this Rosh Hashanah is a Shahayanu frequency. Not you go to an event, you go to a retreat, you do a healing, and it changes your life. No. BS. You have the opportunity in every moment to shift your life, to shift your perspective, to choose something different. The Shahayanu frequency is beyond the illusion of stuck. And you don't have to choose to spiritually bypass. You can choose to be with the moment and feel the feeling. You don't have to choose to create something epic. You can choose to create a shower. The Shahayanu frequency is a frequency of creating. A frequency of creating our lives. A frequency of creating ourselves. Every single moment. Bottom line, our life is for living. No one's going to save us from that. So let's get on it, yeah?
Nice.
So cute.